Well, hey guys, Jen here. I found a few more interesting things on number stations. I know it's not my usual time to go live, but I figured I would do so because it's raining here a little bit and it's kind of hot. And I found this stuff and I wanted to share it with you guys. So let me make sure everything looks good. Excuse me. Now, it's just a little bit of information, it's not a lot. If anybody shows up or I feel like it, I'll run another search. But I did save a conversation from Reddit, and then there was a link to this, which I consider to be like somebody's own like testimony or whatever. So we're gonna check it out together. And I found some more confirmation that makes it look like, and again, my disclaimers are in the description box. I am not a medical professional nor a legal professional. For such advice, please go seek out your chosen experts in the fields. Thank you. Back to our normally scheduled programming here. Well, we don't program, we defragment, right? Deprogram, hopefully. Forgive my scratchy voice. It was very humid this morning. And it's been really hot, so it's made things a little difficult for me personally, physically with my sinuses here. All right, so we're going to read through this if I can. Now, this is just a conversation that somebody saved, and this is from, it looks like May 15th, 1990. But it looks like it's an email or something like that that they shared between each other. So we're going to check it out. Is this one I was looking at? Hold please while I pull it down. Forgive the street noise out there. As usual, our air conditioner is not operating properly at the beginning of the season here, and it's really doing a number on me physically, and it's making me irritable. So this one looks like it's from a Harvard chat or email. I have heard an interesting number station over the past 4 months or so and was wondering if anyone out in the net might have any leads as to its location. Here in Boston, it almost overloads my receiver with the antenna unattached. The station is not coming from Cuba, but most likely from someplace in the New England area. Another thing that caught my attention a few days ago was that the announcer, who seemed not to have an accent, does have one. She has a Boston accent, one I didn't notice because I'm so used to it. If anyone has ideas or has heard this station from other locations, please, in short, several of us here in Southern Cal. Okay, so now again, this is a copy and paste conversation, so it's a little spotty. But this person replied, several of us, and this is really freaky. It says, in short, no shit. Several of us here in Southern Cal traced one like this to a fenced off area. So they actually traced the frequency that the number station was broadcasting from, and they followed it. They followed the path and found the location, allegedly. Allegedly. The place was a little brick building with a sloped roof and a heavy duty looking generator on a small trailer. There was a trailer mounted vertical antenna, and it seemed to be connected to the building with some large size coax, like about 3 inches DIA, and a few cables. The door was a metal with rivets affair, no insignias on the door, a few olive Jeeps, and a black Ford four-door staff car were parked nearby. Outside the fence, we were greeted by a regular Army sergeant with a nasty looking M16 and told to, and I quote, go away and forget you ever saw this place. The whole area is ours. Deadly force next time, blah, blah, blah. Now beat it. Unquote. Right, Uncle. Take it easy, huh? They escorted our vehicles out of the canyon. So that was one encounter that this group of people had in tracking down, tracing, and the stuff that they do to everybody now. tracing that frequency down. And it's funny because I said that, I think, when I first mentioned these, and I said how it reminds me of a spot in a video game where you're not, like, allowed to be yet, or you shouldn't go to unless, like, you're really, armed up in the video game. And you get there and it's like NPCs suddenly just come out of nowhere, to, like, distract you, push you away, get you out of the area, tell you to leave, whatever, kidnap you. So it's funny that somebody kinda describes it just how I was, like, picturing it in a matrix sense, in a parabolic sense. Now here's the same guy has another story. We traced another one to downtown LA on Spring Street. That's where the local FBI, CIA offices are. So try looking in the phone book and start your DFing. Now, I'm not sure what that stands for, but I'm not hip to certain lingo. It's been a while for me. So wherever the local spies and spooks hang out. And I'm not an army brat. I should be. Everyone I know has been in the service except for my parents. When you find it, be circumspect, be polite. They have no sense of humor whatsoever and might just shoot or bag you for kicks. Officially, the government has no comment on these stations, but the fact is the U.S. intelligence community uses the stations, just like all the rest, to orchestrate their covert operations. Once discovered, they tend to move or disappear. Point being, don't muck with these people, they'll make your life miserable if you annoy them. Ordinary citizens disappear every day. No one will blame the government if you suddenly don't show up to work, school, etc. Be careful. I had to take a puff from my inhaler, so. And again, it's because of the weather. I don't need anyone making a video about my health. You're not doctors, and that's supposed to be a private matter per HIPAA law. So I will start not retaliating, but using my rights as a citizen. Because the next story kind of touches on something that we've talked about weaponizing quote unquote mental illness. That's another reason people have loved the Catholic Church, for a long time. Not all people, but some people, because it comforts them. We do believe in, how do I put this? Spirits, maybe, of our relatives or whoever visiting you. Now, sometimes they're demons, yes, but sometimes we do believe that they are allowed to leave purgatory to ask for prayer, especially if they have no one. And so sometimes they hang out in certain places where they were traumatized and need help because they don't know they're deceased. And the Catholic Church does not immediately call you crazy if you report seeing your deceased grandfather every night for 3 or 4 nights and they tell you, well, now that you've told me, do a confession on their behalf or whatever and see how it goes, and usually the problem will stop. And I know that's not related directly to this, but in a way it is. You'll see the next story that we read. Now, this guy replies in an article from wherever this is, all of which underscores the existence of a cult-like security mentality in certain government agencies. Their codes are presumably secure, their transmissions can be monitored by anybody, their site can be found by anybody DFing. They are not located in a war zone where they're likely to be overrun by a raiding party at any moment. They have nothing to fear from ordinary citizens knowing the location and purpose of the site. It's safe to assume that any enemy secret agents already know these things if they want to. Pardon me for sounding cynical. So this person is not buying the above comment. But that's one thing that I found, and I thought it was interesting because I haven't found anyone else. I searched. I haven't found anyone else yet who actually went to a physical site. Do you know what I mean? Because the frequency is being broadcast from somewhere. I mean, it's coming through the air and people are picking it up and receiving it, but it's being sent and transmitted from a place, from a physical location. And I've not been able to find another testament about somebody actually going to that location. So we're going to switch gears. We're still looking at number stations, sort of. But this is something that I thought we should read because it shows you kind of what targeted people are dealing with today, or anybody who, how do I put this, has become non-essential to the powers that be, or sometimes even their own relatives and family. So let's check this out. Now, this is under the thread, what's the creepiest thing you've ever heard on the radio? Now, this is mean. This shows you how nasty people can be. And this is from 9 years ago. But check it out. My great-grandmother was mentally unstable. She would see thousands of ants crawling on the walls, hear voices, things like that. Now, watch. I was a kid and she was living in an apartment. They would soon be moving her to an assisted living. Because of these issues, they're moving her out of this apartment. Now, picture it. It's an apartment building. This person was a kid. It was 9 years ago, so it's probably late 50s, early 60s, baby boomer, mom or dad generation. And so she's a little older. She's surrounded by all these people who aren't family. She has no one there. Maybe she's the last one who has kind of a low rent and they want to be able to raise the rent. You never know how these things are motivated and put to play. But, well, people's personal motivations. I mean, usually you don't find that out. Excuse me, I had to take a sip there. But watch how this goes, because they think she's mentally unstable. And so because of that, they're moving her to an assisted living. No, she claimed her radio would start talking to her. How many people today, right now, on TikTok are banking because they're telling their stories about how their phone reads their mind, or the AI knows what it's going to say and it's so good to them, or it knows what they're going to search. And it's more than just ads being, geared toward them. They'll say, I didn't even say anything out loud and it knew, right? Nobody's calling those kids insane. Nobody's saying they're nuts, right? So check this out. She claimed a radio would start talking to her. Now, again, this is late 50s, early 60s, telling her what she was wearing and saying telling her what she was wearing and saying horrible things to her. Well, my mom and grandmother made note, but thought it was more of her mind slipping. However, mom and myself stayed with her for a day while grandmother took the car to run errands. We were watching TV and the radio was playing in the kitchen when this creepy, cackling laughter came over the radio. It laughed and began telling my grandmother she was crazy and how she would always be alone for the voices to get her. As a kid, it freaked me the heck out. I ran screaming to my mom, who was on the back porch. She heard it and immediately called the cops. Long story short, my great grandmother's neighbor was a twisted ex military guy who got a kick out of tuning into my grandmother's radio frequency and terrorizing her. Does that not sound like some of the people today, some YouTubers, some MySpacers, some people on Reddit, who either are banking because of stories like that and sharing things like that, or they're being vilified because of it? And that's proof right there. That's a testimony saying that they caught this dude and they prosecuted him. Who knows what happened? It was probably just a fine. But messing with the FCC isn't really a small issue either. But why would somebody feel motivated enough to maybe alert the FCC to their actions just to terrorize some old woman? That's really sad, and it's indicative of the society. And again, this was years ago. So what are we to make of what's happening today in today's culture with people that we immediately label to be insane without further investigation, without investigating their claims, without even looking into it most of the time? That's a I don't even know how to say it. That is a severe abuse of a skill set that the military teaches people. They're not you wouldn't think your own military is going to terrorize you, but it's right there. I don't know how to feel about that when you actually find things like that that are confirmed. And this is not a one and done. It's not a one and done. Look at all the targeted individuals who talk about things like this, and everyone calls them crazy for it. But obviously, it's not a one and done, and obviously, it's been going on for a couple of decades or more. So I personally, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I mean, it gives me conviction. It confirms the things that I have said with my husband's family being in the local offices around here and his their friends being like bikers and stuff. People terrorizing people just because because they offended them, because they said something they didn't like, because maybe they wanted this old woman out of that apartment so they could raise the rent, or any reason, you don't know. But I just, it really gives me a little bit of validation, and I would hope it gives other TIs who've experienced things that they feel like are paranormal, but it's people messing with them and abusing their skill set. This woman probably thought it was like ghosts or demons from the other side, and here's her neighbor, right? Whatever you believe in, they'll use. And they wanted to put it, they actually it's and that's what bothers me the most, I think, about this is that this family didn't connect this with her mental decline altogether. They just attributed it to this one time. But obviously, this guy had been doing that for some time to her. So it's disturbing to me on a few different levels. It shows where society was way back then and how far have we come as far as, I don't mean technologically wise because we've been lied to about all that, but I mean psychologically, parapsychologically as a civilization. And it's because of things like this, because we allow this bullying, this bully mentality, this narcissistic, arrogant, sociopathic behavior that we reward. So, I mean, it's just a little validation, but it's also like you wonder how many people have gone through this and thought they were experiencing something paranormal, right? And it's just their neighbor mucking with them. I just I don't know how to feel about this on so many different levels, guys. And it is kind of disappointing that nobody's hanging out to hear, dig into it a little bit, but that's all right. Let's see how people 10 years ago, let's see how people felt about this. This guy says it's horrible. I'm sick. I'm glad he was caught. This one says, holy, you know what, man? This one says, this gave me chills. What an incredibly messed up neighbor. Yeah, no kidding. Um, Now here's another person sharing. So let's dive in because, again, it's a common thread. Everybody's sharing their common experiences with radios and frequencies and numbers and number stations. This one says, I suppose I should share my own to explain why I posted. Early yesterday morning, about 2 a.m., while I was listening to my local radio talk show in Southern Cal, some strange stuff happened. I work at a scrapyard overnight right now, basically monitoring the premise for extra money. And so the radio is a good friend to me to keep me company. The host was doing a bit on the worst way anyone ever broke up with you, and a few callers were ringing up about their funny stories. Throughout the broadcast, I could faintly hear someone in the mic or the background of the mic telling the host about what to do. It happens often when the showrunner passes a story to a host or whatever, you can hear the comments briefly. Well, she was talking intermittently about a story breaking locally with extremely odd circumstances. Several officers engaged, or at one point she said, I think I might have heard possible you know what's fired. 2 or 3 police codes came up throughout the half hour or so, and the host would repeat it to her, and then all at once it stopped. The signal dropped, the station went silent except for crackling, and after a few minutes, it came back up. They apologized for the broadcast going down and then went on with the show as normal, except they never mentioned the story again, and I haven't heard anything about it since. I wasn't alone though, because a caller rang in a little later about the dating segment and asked what the deal was earlier, and they didn't even acknowledge it. Maybe a hoax, maybe just a fluke, who knows? It got me curious about if anyone else heard anything similar to that though. Um, I had found one. There it is. Okay. This is another one. Was driving home really late one night because this brings up something else that I've talked about. How it's I think it's strange that everyone in Ohio, like a lot of people, are allegedly in Florida right now. But how many Ohioans travel back and forth between Florida and Ohio? And it's like, and also like, how do you have it like that? That you have a couple of houses? Like, I just don't. I guess I can't relate to that. Excuse me. And again, I apologize for my voice. It is sinuses. It is extremely humid up here in Northeast Ohio. We had a little bit of rain, so right now it's kind of like the rainforest, and my hair is feeling like a Brillo pad, but that's okay because I'll carry on. All right, let's read this story. I was driving home really late one night, country road in the middle of a storm. I was going super slow because while I know that road really well, I could hardly see anything. Even going slow, I was worried because the weather just that bad. All of a sudden, on this pop station I normally listen to, the song playing cut out and a completely different song came on. I actually recognize it, but it's a weird song I would never expect to hear on a station like that. Um, a Pod is Waiting by Monster. Good song, just not in this situation. And it had started up near the end of the song when the music goes kind of messed up and this mournful wailing starts up in the background. The line, "When your time has come, it's come," came on right as my car hit some massive dip where a chunk of road had completely broken off, and I very nearly went flying into the ditch on the side of the road. I missed rolling my car by the skin of my teeth, and I guarantee I would have been seriously hurt, if not straight up killed, if my car had fallen there. The whole situation scared the heck out of me, and afterwards, the radio station went right back to normal, playing dumb pop music. I've never heard that song or any other by that band on that station again. I have no idea. It's the most perfect coincidence, a potential station mess up or what, but that was by far the scariest thing I've ever personally heard on the radio. Now, this guy, I don't know where. Why is it deleted? Hold, please, because there was somebody who shared a story about Ohio. So I want to see if I can find the beginning of it. Hold, please. Thank you guys for your patience. Come on, man. Where is it? I don't know why it shows him like coming out of nowhere replying to this. But this one says, I was in Ohio and suddenly after a rainstorm heard a Florida radio station complete with weather, traffic, etc. It lasted about 10 minutes, I think. Now that's wild because we've talked about Ohio and Florida being connected and how I personally know so many people that allegedly they're in Ohio in Florida, but they own other houses up here or they own businesses up here. My landlord is like there most of the time, but he has a business up here also, so it's just weird because Ohio is at one end of the country and Florida's kind of, I mean, it's on the same like maybe parallel line, but it's states away. So why is there so much of this overlap? Ohio and PA or Ohio and PA also have a lot of people who seem to travel back and forth between Texas and Arizona. And those are they're allegedly so far away. So how are people just bouncing from place to place? Is it the tunnels underground that supposedly, we just now discovered are there? Like what? And the first story was Musk was the one building them and tunneling them, but now it's they were just there. I don't know if AI is running things and it can't keep up with its own stories that it's putting out or what, but things are very strange in our current situations everywhere. Okay, I'm going to get rid of one of these tabs. Go back over here. Now, the other thing about Ohio and Florida is that there is this, I don't know what to call it, like a myth that they share a portal. Now, I don't know if that is true. But I do know that people seem to go from place to place pretty quickly. So, give me a second here. I want to Google it on my phone real quick. I might be able to bring the conversation up real quickly. If I can find it, there's no guarantee. This stuff sometimes is, you saw how the users often delete their names, but to be associated with those stories forever. No. Hold please. Supernatural Reddit is what I'll search. There we go. Sorry for the street noise again. I wanted to see if I could find that link. I hate to tell you guys stuff that I don't have proof of when I'm interjecting these little anecdotes. But yeah, that's wild that how are you in Ohio, which is one end of the country, is north, northeast, and Florida's southeast. But that's so far away. How are you picking up a radio station like that? But it makes me wonder, like, what city he was in. I'm not sure what this means. This says not the radio, but the Jonestown death tape. Holy cow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. They heard that on the radio? I don't understand why. What? Okay. This guy says, I was working construction. You see the date he's talking about, the date we won't ever forget. And the towers, twin towers. Again, what a ritual. I was working construction. You hear the thunder? I love thunder. I was working construction in a Naples, Florida church and had no access to a television. The conflicting reports through the day had my head spinning. Announcers tried to organize the chaos over the radio, but it was a complete info overload without the pictures to back up the story. And they're saying, and this is one of the number stations that they name the Swedish Rhapsody. These are different number stations that kind of freak people out. Allegedly, they haven't been decoded. I don't know if they're just saying that to make people go look themselves and try to decode it or what. Like Cicada 301, Cicada 3301. Hold, please. That sounds like it's the building. Somebody brought up the other day sick building syndrome, and I'm not sure what that had to do with that girl's case, the one that went missing in the Cecil, but there is a strange energy that certain buildings have, almost as if the building itself is alive. See more people getting messed with or paranormal, supernatural incidents. Like, there's so many here. Uh, that one's sad. Da-da-da-da. That might be it for the number stations in this one. Like I said, guys, this is a hard search. If you guys have any encounters or experience links that you're able to come up with on this, I would be much obliged. It's like you have to sit down and decode the stuff yourself. Star radio interference is creepy. That's somebody else who heard a number station, it looks like. And I also found, and I don't know how relevant it is, but I'll show you because somebody out there might be interested in it. I don't know what I'll be able to do with it personally, but again, you guys seemed interested in the topic, so I wanted to at least search it out. Clay Michelle says, hello, I've had to pause the first number station video to be here. I'm only about an hour in. Oh, it is so hard to find new information on them, and it's just as difficult. Oh, I did find the Fallout. Hold on. Hold, please. Let me see if I can find it again. I don't know if I can. Let me see if it's on my phone. I found an image of, the game Fallout. There's a number station in it. And there's this myth that goes along with it. But if you can find the image, it has a lot of real life codes in it. Hold, please. Fallout. All right, I'm going to pull up images and see if I can find anything. There it is. It looks like that's one right there. Oh, I don't know if that's big enough. Let me see what this looks like, guys. Open image. Oh my god, that's so small. There we go. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll look at this real quick, the table of contents, and then I'll go to the Fallout one. Now, Fallout is a game kids play. There's now a series about it on Prime. Well, at least my kids, they're not kids anymore, and they still play it. There is this, I guess it's a side mission where you can discover, it's not on everybody's game. Like, you've got to kind of dig for it, or you've got to do special quests or tasks, and you'll find this number station. But the number station, somebody put it all together, and it predicts things that have happened in our real world here, our reality. So I will show you guys that next. Let me get rid of a couple of these tabs. Which one are you guys seeing? Is it there? Oh, hello, what's happening? Why can I not share it? Why is it black? I've had a problem with this one, and I don't know what it is. Hang on, guys. Share. Okay. That's weird. I've been looking up some strange things recently, so if my stuff starts going wonky. All right. So this is by Havana Moon. Havana Moon is, hold please. It says right here who he is. Right there. All right, this is the foreword. For over 25 years, the shortwave radio number stations have been among America's strangest mysteries. Many people skilled in both communications and intelligence have searched for answers to the puzzle. They've been able to throw some light on the puzzle, some light on the problem, but for the most part, it has remained unsolved. However, the now legendary Havana Moon refused to quit. For years, he has utilized all of his skills as he carefully examined the problem of the number stations. Readers were first made aware of his dedication and persistence as he shared some of his findings in the pages of the now defunct New York Times Radio Club. Later, in basically, he's like me, like us. He's kind of a geek. He's smart, and he has his one niche where he dwells, and that's his thing is radio. Later, in a column appearing in Monitoring Times, he would reveal to us even more of the bizarre world of the number station. Now, at last, in this book, Havana Moon has provided the public with a thorough examination of the entire number station situation. While all the answers may not be here, the careful reader will gain considerable insight and purpose of these stations. Certainly, that minority of Americans who listen regularly to shortwave broadcasts will find this enlightening. However, those who have never heard a shortwave broadcast may be even more intrigued as they discover some of the secret ways in which their and other governments operate. For anyone who really wants to know how government business is actually conducted, this book is a must. We are all indebted to Havana Moon for his courage and dedication. Now, at last, we can know what some persons were determined we would never know. A healthy democracy is dependent on an enlightened citizenry. Ugh, citizenry. All right. I had to run to the dollar store too because I had no daytime allergy medicine. All right, so this is just the foreword of this book, but let's go see. I want to see what the table of contents look like. That's what we kind of browse, right? And see what's here. Playing the number shell game, 5-digit transmission formats, 4-digit transmission formats, phonetic alphabet stations. RU2, QRU. RUT, QRU. Ugh. Who's Who in the German Numbers World. Selected incidents. That might be an interesting chapter. Numbers feedback. Selected Freedom of Information Act replies. That might be interesting. NSA official intimidation question mark. Selected FCC FOIA replies. Revelations, the mysterious FCC document, meandering moon, numbers database by frequency, numbers database by time, selected crypts, afterward, selected reading list. Okay. Can I go right to the page? Yeah. All right. So let's go to chapter 7, page 21, where it says selected incidents and see what's there. I haven't seen this document brought up on any of the other videos, so I thought it'd be really cool. This guy has dedicated decades to the study of radio and radio frequency, so we'd be kind of foolish to find it and not listen to what he's got to say a little bit. So there's a quote, another one. There will come an age of small and independent nations whose first line of defense will be knowledge. Charles Proteus Steinmetz. Phonetic alphabet stations. That's not right, is it? I thought we wanted, hold please. I thought we wanted to go back to chapter. Did it not take us to the right page? Table of contents. Selected incidents. Page 21. Well, let's try it again. That says 13. That says 21. That says 21. Oh, it's chapter 13. My bad. All right, the circumstances really haven't changed drastically in well over a decade. It's intrigue in the guise of another English-speaking YL, not sure what that means, with a somewhat mechanical sounding voice repeating the same four-element alphanumeric groups for several minutes. The intercepted groups or possibly calls are usually Kilo Papa Alpha 2, Charlie India Oscar 2, or Victor Lima Bravo 2. A common frequency in the past has been 7445. Typical times are often 0215 or 0245. Transmissions have been difficult to copy and are best received, in most cases, in the USB mode. Hundreds of these intercepts have been reported over the years to most of the monitoring clubs that cater to utility transmission buffs. Phonetic alphabet traffic is often reported with few, if any, comments. One of the many areas of neglect has been the active traffic frequency of 7540 kHz. This frequency in the past has been active 5 minutes after cessation of 7445 activity. The traffic format is as follows. So he's saying that these are unusual incidents that he found, right? Honestly, you have to actually get into the topic more and understand the codes themselves. What we're looking for are actual events and things that happen. I don't want to look at 29 and 34. This says selected incidents now. This is what I was picking. Okay. I don't know what's going on here, but it's a little weird. The pages aren't numbered right. They're not populating right. Somebody had said when I pulled it up that it might have been altered. Maybe that's what it is. Selected incidents, Boca Raton, Florida. Oh, Florida. Always Florida, guys. Wow, that's so weird. We were just talking about Florida. A numbers monitor from near Boca Raton reports a most unusual incident during a 5-digit Spanish transmission at 1322 UTC on July 25th, 1986. Here's a portion of what this numbers monitor reported. I had just turned to 570 or 5780 kHz for the repeat of a numbers transmission I had been monitoring on 4825 kHz when the 22 UTC with, of all things, the Beach International Airport beacon underneath the number station. I quickly turned another receiver to 350 and the sequence was exact. This was definitely the PB beacon. This beacon continued to be audible when the actual numbers transmission began. This is not the first time the very strange numbers incident have been reported from behind the pink flamingo curtain. Pink flamingo curtain. Is that referring to Florida? That's funny. Is that their code for Florida? Because never mind. Screamers and crips. I would hope that the following explanation of a most unusual transmission is not more obscure than the transmission being explained. So there they go into describing what happened, blah, blah, blah. Referred to as screamers. They're used to extract attention. In the above situation, it is possible that these groups were to be acted upon in a different manner than other portions of their crypts. Bizarre. Okay, so nobody's actually. It's thought that some 5-digit transmissions originate from a site near Patrick. So that's more interrupter signals now they're saying are in Florida. Huh. Reptilians jamming your frequencies, guys, while they took over? I'm only half kidding. Numbers feedback. So which page would the NSA information be on? It should be after this, I think. It's all on the wrong page. There it is. There's a strong opinion, and not altogether unwarranted, among many numbers monitors that there's some type of conspiracy of worldwide magnitude when it pertains to the releasing of meaningful information about these decades-old transmissions. Okay, so let's go out into woo-woo land for just a second. my theory, my out there fringe theory was that if this were a video game, number stations, the way they're protected and stuff, especially the John Cusack movie, wanting people to stay away from them, that it's some type of programming for our reality. If this was a video game, that's what I would think. If I'm not altogether wrong, if there's incidents that are planned out and they're sharing the information about it. All right, so it says this opinion is really not all that surprising when you examine some of the form type letters from the FCC and other government agencies in response to FOIA petitions. Over the past several years, I've personally had the opportunity to examine many FOIA replies. FCC replies directed to different requesters are nearly identical. Only the dates and some few words of these FCC replies differ. I, for one, hardly think that near exact wording is by chance alone. Okay, hold please. Freedom of Information Act replies, and then FCC replies. That's weird. Again, it makes me think that like AI has been secretly running things here for a while. We'll examine the FCC replies as well as the role the FCC plays in regards to numbers transmissions in another chapter. And what about the ITU? You tend to get just a little curious when these keepers of the frequencies appear to retain all numbers related correspondence on file, aka the men in black of number stations is what he's talking about right there. A past examination of ITU numbers correspondence indicated that in at least one instance, a requester's letter of many months earlier was referenced. Now that's what I call curious. So there's a lot of denials, and it's happening with like people are requesting information over and over. Of course, we should all know that the ITU is under no mandate to answer any questions from sources outside the ITU. Many people wonder about what is contained in FOIA replies. Who the heck really cares about some unimportant numbers monitor's request or much less the reply? A silly ritual. And why go to all the trouble to draft a formal request for information? Dumb. Maybe so and maybe not. But I understand it because I have filed requests because I desire whatever little, and it is often very little, bit of information I may retain. So he's saying he understands the process and why it exists, but he's tired of writing the mundane, redundant letters. I've also been on both sides of the fence. Yeah, see, he sympathizes and can, in some few instances, appreciate the government's position as well as the position of the requester. Right, I get it. Governments, and especially some few of the agencies thereof, do not often subscribe to the old saying that it's more blessed to give than receive. Okay, so oddly enough, only one of the requesters of the following replies is a member of a listeners or monitoring club. All, however, possess state-of-the-art monitoring equipment and have a keen interest in number transmissions. All requests were for information on 5-digit Spanish activity on the frequencies of 3060 and 3090, as well as other 3 and 4 MHZ numbers activity. So this is the reply that they got for requesting that information from those frequencies. Army Security Agency. This is in response to your letter deleted. A search of files maintained at this headquarters failed to reveal any information concerning the radio transmission you described in your letter. The National Security Agency, the NSA, was also queried but cannot supply any of the information you desire. See the wording there? The NSA cannot supply, meaning they have it, they just won't give it. A very short time later, a second and rather strange reply was received by the original requester to the ASA. Interpretation of this second reply is open to debate. I see. In response to your letter of deleted reference is made to the Army Regulation AR 380-13. Department of the Army policy prohibits acquiring, reporting, processing, or storing information on persons or organizations not affiliated with the Department of Defense, except in those circumstances when such information is essential to accomplish Department of the Army missions. Okay, hold please. If you don't understand that, that is saying this person obviously requested information about a specific person, maybe themselves, as to why they're being targeted or why, I don't know, it's been redacted, but that's an odd reply saying that we don't keep information on people unless it's essential to our mission, which is kind of a weird reply. The only cases where this type of action would be authorized are during operations related to the protection of U.S. Army personnel, functions, and property, and operations which are related to civil disturbances when there is a distinct threat to the civil disturbance exceeding the law enforcement capability of the state and local authorities. Because of this policy, U.S. Army resources can't be used to assist you in acquiring data in the manner you have requested. The nature of this individual's FOIA request to the ASA was only for any releasable information in regards to that channel. There was no request made to the ASA for aid in locating the source of these transmissions. Yeah, and mentioning like specific individuals, but they weren't asked about specific individuals makes it sound like they are trading information about people almost, which you'll see in the next bit of woo from the video game Fallout. But let's continue this real quick. 2 follow-up phone calls to the ASA produced some very vague hints that some 5-digit Spanish transmissions were of domestic origin, were on American soil. They were Spanish speaking, but it originated in America. There was also some rather vague references that the ASA did not officially wish to become involved in this matter. That's weird. Here's another one. Air Force Security Service. Reference your FOIA request deleted. The data that you requested is not on file at this headquarters. Therefore, we are unable to comply with your request. Furthermore, this headquarters is not in a position to make a determination as to whether the data you seek is in evidence, meaning they can't admit to it even existing. Should you desire to pursue this matter, we suggest that you contact the NSA in Maryland in order to ascertain whether or not this information even exists. Wow, so they're not even admitting to the existence of the number stations. This is the DCA. Your request does not fall under the purview of this agency. However, the following information should assist in your research. Wow, somebody's being helpful. The frequencies listed in your letter of fall within the frequency bands allocated on an international basis for the aeronautical mobile service off route. That's interesting. So they're saying that the origin is mobile, aeronautical, and mobile, like a drone. The frequency of 3090 is not an established off route channel. However, the adjacent channels are allotted to Brazil, Bermuda, Canada, Chile, Cuba, Greenland, Hawaii, Canal Zone, Puerto Rico, and US, Argentina, Canada, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, and Peru, respectively. When do you see all of the nations involved in anything? It has been determined that the broadcasts cited in your request are not emanating from the U.S. Department of Defense sources. Interesting. I would assume that this last paragraph are not used for these transmissions. This, however, does not rule out transmitters owned, leased, or operated by U.S. government contractors. See, I told you, government contractors don't have to abide by our law, and I don't understand why that is. And so and they don't, I don't know how to say this. I don't think they have to give up their records as easily, like as the government. Like, okay. our government is not transparent, but it is compared to government contractors, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Okay. You guys asked for this topic, so if you like it, please do hit the like button. That's just for me. Lets me know if we're on the right track here. Oh my gosh, tent. Hold on. Let me see if it's holding up. Oh, so far so good. What is that? That's a squirrel. I wonder if that squirrel will try to get in my tent. It's zipped up though. Okay. So, Department of the Air Force. This is in response to your FOIA request. Oh, wait. Yeah, diplomatic immunity could be a very interesting topic. Yeah. Because all those nations involved in something, like, that's just wild. The information you seek does not come under the jurisdiction of the Air Force. You should address the name of the above security agency has been changed since the FOIA request was filed. It's now called Air Force Electronic Security Command. Air Force Electronic Security Command. No kidding. Did you guys know that? That there was a department called Air Force Electronic Security Command? Wicked. I didn't know they dabbled. Like, I thought it was just Air Force stuff. But I mean, you have to be good at mechanics to keep those planes maintained. Interesting. And above, they said that the origin of the frequency was mobile. Why would it be mobile? Because they don't want anyone to stumble upon the actual... This is so weird. This is a strange topic, guys. If I start getting followed even worse, I am coming back to you and talking about you got to hide me in your attic like it's World War II. And it says, we hope we have been of service to you. Oh, and your inquiries should go to this area, the FCC Commission. So you see how this is working too. They pass the buck to each other. We hope we have been of service to you. That's kind of a DM right there. Yikes. Defense Intelligence Agency does not possess the communications data you are seeking. They are not the droids they are looking for. Federal Aviation Administration, FAA. This is in response to deleted, in which you requested information concerning radio transmissions other than aeronautical, which might emanate from FAA transmitter sites near deleted. You additionally requested information regarding the use of these sites by any federal intelligence or security agency. FAA headquarters has no information which would indicate that any FAA transmitter sites in blah, blah, blah are transmitting other than aeronautical information. Right. But why are number station, it sounds like they're saying number station frequencies originate, some of them originate in planes. But for, like, why? Because the number stations get strange again with the messages. All right, so let's switch gears again. I want to take you guys to the Fallout graphic. We're gonna go forward in time a little bit. Okay, so can I read this? Yeah. Can I? All right. I don't know if you guys can see this. I can see it. Let me see what it looks like for you. Oh, it's pretty big. That's not too bad. All right. Okay, so here we go. Fallout 3 contains several in-game radio stations. The most diverse and important station is Galaxy News Radio. Many players of the evil persuasion know that you can kill Three Dog, and he will be replaced by the technician Margaret. She is not a charismatic personality and has very little to say, seeming to not enjoy her new announcing duties. She also never appears in person and therefore cannot be killed. Once Three Dog is deceased, you're stuck with Margaret. Okay, so this is telling you about the game and how to get this, okay? What most players do not know is that under certain circumstances, GNR will become a number station. A number station is a station that broadcasts an unusual coded message. Many of these exist in real life, and some hypothesized that they are a nuclear retaliation control network. Simply check Wikipedia for more information about these odd broadcasts as they relate to the real world. Back to Fallout 3. No one is really sure which actions are needed to hear the number station in Fallout 3. It appears that you must kill Three Dog because no one has reported hearing the number station with him still being in play on the game. It also appears that you have to skip over the quest Galaxy News Radio, where you help boost the signal so that the station can broadcast further than just the immediate DC area. This is easy enough to do with either a speech check or simply using Fallout Wiki to look up where to go next and advance the main plot. Okay, so it's telling you how to get there. Now, let's get to the good stuff. Oh, no, not that far. Good gracious. If you're lucky enough to have hit upon the right circumstances just after destroying Raven Rock, you will get the message radio signal lost, and a few seconds later, radio signal found. You cannot, however, actually listen to GNR just yet because you didn't boost the signal and are out of range of the broadcast at the exit of Raven Rock. Luckily, Raven Rock is situated. Okay. So far, the confirmed locations to hear the signal are hold on. When you tune in, you will hear an old familiar voice. Now, again, this is how you get to the number station. I wasn't going to finish all those directions. But once you get that in the game, once you get that side quest to show up, this is what happens. When you tune in, you will hear an old familiar voice. Three Dog. Despite the fact that you killed him earlier, however, you will quickly notice that he doesn't seem to be in character. So I guess it's not technically Three Dog, but just the voice actor, Eric Dellums. He reads a series of numbers in a monotone, depressed sounding voice. He always recites a list of single digits between 9 and 12 characters long. For example, 9372034. He never uses a multi-digit number like 11 or 40. These numbers are followed by widely varying lengths of Morse code. This is then followed by the song I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire. All other music tracks seem to be inactive on the number station. That's strange. The Morse code was the easiest part of the mystery to crack as the code is widely available and many people actually know it by heart. We quickly had a list of a great number of messages in English. Some sounded completely mundane and even comical, such as wash the car today, maybe Chinese for dinner, or have you watched my YouTube video yet? I uploaded myself kicking bums in the you know what. You may be saying, but wait, YouTube doesn't exist in the Fallout universe. And you're right. As far as we could tell, all of the messages sounded like they were based in our reality, somewhere near the present day. Now here's where it gets creepy, all right? Once you do this secret side quest mission in Fallout and this appears, and the number station numbers are read, and you decode it, these are some of the messages that are there. Some of the messages, however, are quite sinister, such as the Queen has died today, the world mourns, as on days like these we are all Brits, or I can't believe they've actually done it, not long left, the noise, I can't take the noise anymore, I have a pew pew in the attic. I think I know what that's in reference to, but we get a little more information on that down the road. Just recently, a player on the wiki forums noticed a message that brought to light the meaning of the messages. He was reading a thread that collected all known messages transposed from Morse to English, and he saw the line 120552. Okay, there it is. What are you talking about? You'll be missed. Okay. So he saw these numbers and then a phrase. He realized this referred to the recent death of Gary Coleman because he says, what you talking about? You'll be missed. And then quickly realized the numbers were the time and date of death. He immediately scanned through the messages to try and find more examples of this apparent future telling by a game that's more than a year old. The next message he read shocked him and pushed him to enlist the aid of others to decipher the codes. The message was 945420210. Accident in the Gulf, several deceased, oil spill apparently averted. He realized that this was the BP explosion and the erroneous day one assessment that the well wasn't leaking. From this point on, all numbers will be transcribed as times and dates. All times were given in game in military format and remain so in this document. Numerous members of the Fallout Wiki message board began looking over the messages to see what else we could learn. We quickly found that most of the dates were after the game had been released, yet oddly some were past. 22/15, April 15th, 1865. He's deceased, and blame will probably be placed on that actor Booth. They're talking about Lincoln. Clinton better not cheat me out of the payment. This shed new doubt on the official version of the Lincoln assassination. As the community quickly started piling up interpretations of the messages, the mods of the site summarily banned everyone who had posted in or even read the thread. It got shut down, guys. That's why they save screenshots like this. I found this, as you saw, under images, because a lot of the stuff they'll kind of get rid of after a time and scrub if they can, or just completely shut groups down that are trying to decode things. And that's a common occurrence. That's why the information on this topic is so hard to find. Like, there's not much out there. Most of the YouTubers are covering the same things, but there's not a lot out there. Okay, so where were we? A few people, however, are trading emails and slowly finishing the translation of the remaining messages and putting dates to the existing ones. The Queen has died today. The world mourns, as on days like this, we are all Brits. March 19th, 2014. I told you she was gone a long time. Nobody wanted to listen to me. The next one. Have you watched my YouTube video yet? I uploaded myself kicking bums in the you-know-what. December 24th, 2012. So whoever, that's when this person did that. I can't believe Britney's actually won an Oscar. February 27th, 2023. And then here's the other one. And I think this might be in reference, guys, to the LHC. And I'm not kidding. Like I think that's what this one's about. I can't believe they've actually done it. Not long left. They were warned, but they just had to keep pushing the boundaries of science. The noise, I can't take the noise anymore. And the light, dear God. The universe is slowly unraveling around us. I'm not going to wait for, you know what, I have a you know what in the attic. This is actually the only message not preceded by a string of numbers. It may be worth noting that the latest data on any of the messages is July 6, 2027. Huh. Interesting. So in the beginning, there was no number set with this one. But now, I guess after so much time spent, people have found that. And I can't find anything new on that, I don't think. Hold, please. Let's do it. There we go. All right. Albeit a persistent hoax. Yeah, for real. Events in the future. I want to see somebody decoded messages. Because again, these are topics that you have to really dig for, and they're topics that you have to come back because there's more information on them. Just like science. When there's anybody, any group actively working in that area, hopefully you'll see signs of progress and not decline. But sometimes interest just wanes. Now I wanted to see the decoded decoded messages. Urban legend. What are some of the dates? 91. September 20th, 1991. I should look these up to see what they are. September 20th. $1991. Year of the goat. Hold. Was that right? Yep, September 20th, 1991. I just wanted to Google one at random to see if there's any actual information out there. It was a Friday, year of the goat. On this day, the Armenian SSR declared its independence from the Soviet Union. No kidding. That's kind of a event in history or whatever. Pretty oil fires. Pablo Escobar jailed. The sheep's coat, a man's coat of sunshine. Huh. Let me check another one of those dates. Oh, right there. Sorry. Here. All right. So what I did there was I Googled one of the numbers from the image itself in the game. May 28th, 2010. So just for fun. What is it? May 28th, 2010. On this day, oh my, prayers came to a close on May 28th, 2010 in Lahore, Pakistan. Wow. Do you see that? That's a date from history. They actually program these little dates into the game in a number station. So, again, what clue are they giving us? All right, let me see if I can find. Aren't there any that are future dates, guys? Like, what is up? That's the same image there. Hang on, I'm trying to see if I can. There. I want to see if there's any more information on it and if any of the other dates were added. In the year 2271, yeah, no. Huh. This is a hard topic, y'all. You guys requested a toughie. I'm not able to find a whole lot of information on this, which usually I can find information on almost anything. Coast Guard. Where possible. The CIA claimed that a search of their files revealed no information on number stations at all. I went back to the Havana Moon's little book here. All right, so let's share this. See if it comes up okay. Cool. All right. NSA official intimidation, and there's a question mark there. So let's see what happens because of this guy here who's devoted decades to researching number stations, and all these requests made by him and others being pointed to other, offices and whatnot. And again, this is a global thing. Like, I hate using that word global. This is a earthwide thing, a realm. This is a realm issue. They're on like this is everywhere. I'm telling you, I think it's some kind of programming. I'm not even kidding. Ask any coder. That's what numbers are used for. Is coding, right? And programming. Okay, so NSA official intimidation. Should you desire to pursue this matter, we suggest that you contact the NSA, Fort Meade, Maryland, in order to ascertain whether or not this information exists. Air Force Security Service. A FOIA reply from the NSA was, or so it appears, designed to read and reach your own conclusion. Interesting. This replies to your letter of blank, in which you request access to certain information relating to radio transmissions. The fact of the existence or non-existence of any specific intelligence information which might fall within the scope of your request is a properly classified matter. But if you're, isn't that it admitting it exists? Under criteria set forth in paragraph 2-303, Department of Defense Regulation 5200-1R, which implements Executive Order 11652, thus your request is denied, as any information with respect to your request, if it existed, would be exempt from disclosure under Title V as a matter properly classified in its entirety pursuant to Executive Order, blase, blase. So they're throwing policy and red tape at them. In addition, this agency is precluded by law from providing information on the specific results of its classified activities, except to those persons authorized to receive such information. The president and the heads of departments or agencies expressly designated by the president may authorize the persons who can receive classified information. This agency has no information which indicates that you have been authorized to receive classified information. To encourage the others by frightening them, Voltaire. They have like a quote on every page. Okay, so they're saying over and over and over again that he can't, and he's appealing it. Less than intimated. You might say that this particular requester was amused and very quickly filed an appeal that very possibly corroded a few daggers and burned several holes in a few cloaks. And just days later, okay, so it's saying requester believes release of the information is required. Huh. This responds to your letter appealing the decision of the NSA. I've reviewed your original request, the record search conducted pursuant thereto, the NSA information, officers' reply to you, and your reasons for appeal. I've concluded that a thorough search was made of this agency's records and report, as I felt the information officer meant to, that we located no information which falls within the scope of your request. I would suggest you might find the reference data for radio engineers published by International Telephone and Telegraph helpful. This publication can be found in most major libraries and contains information relative to the identity and location of all legitimate radio transmitters throughout the world. Information contained in this publication is extracted in part from the Bern listing, published in the French language by, okay, so they're telling them to read this really old book, 5th edition, reference data for radio engineers. So they're referring him back to like textbooks, which I'm sure he's already read, but from the nature of your request, it appears that the FCC may have interest in the information you have furnished. We have therefore referred your request to the FCC for any help they may be able to make or willing to make. He says, pay particular attention to the contradictions, and the NSA replied to the appeal. Come on, you guys, who do you think you're kidding? The requester tells me that the FCC finally responded with one of their "we have no information" type of letters. So what else is new? The two of us, however, would really like to know just what the heck reference data for radio engineers has to do with numbers transmissions. Reference data for radio engineers. They're referring you back to like a school book, like a textbook, though. Wouldn't he have already read this? Okay, I'm going to search one more thing before I end this video, but I want to look up the origins of number station frequencies. Because there is a myth out there, again, that they were always here, that these frequencies, that all we did was find or rediscover, or we were given the radio. The frequencies always existed. So who was using them before us? This is bizarre. No. I'm going to find out if we're able to actually listen to, I'll listen to one and see what it's like. Everyone says that Swedish Rhapsody one is kind of weird, creepy. I want to know the origins. There we go. There we go. Huh, interesting. I found something, which is, again, this is a hard, let me see if you guys can see it yet. All right, cool. Number station. I'm gonna have to go check my tent when I'm done with this. Explore the century-old mystery of number stations. This is from August 4th, 2014, which is cool. I like going back. What it's about. Sometime after World War II, if not earlier, shortwave radio broadcasts started appearing with no obvious purpose. A synthesized voice, usually female sounding, would read a list of numbers. It's wisely assumed that they are used in spycraft, but no country or agency has ever admitted to being the source. Just fact. This isn't a fact so much as a fascinating bit of speculation. The group set of recordings of number stations released in 97 claims that there have been reports of number stations as early as world stations didn't appear until 1920. This would make the number stations among the first radio broadcasts in history. But what are they? There's controversy. Okay, Wikipedia history of interior that a Czech number station was in fact run by that country's foreign intelligence service for broadcasting into foreign countries. A long debate ensues on the talk page as to whether the source is valid. I just wanted to see what that said, and I would. The whole world is in on the act. Shortwave differs from traditional radio broadcasting in that its high-frequency radio waves can be bounced off the ionosphere and back to Earth, can be used to broadcast very long distances with relatively little power, and is popular among amateur broadcasters post-usually successful Thriller, the number station. And Wilco named its 2001 used opaque messages using the radio. I just want to see. There are lies more believable than the truth. That's a gypsy saying. Okay, selected if. Now, I don't know if I want to read through any more of this, but being forwarded, yeah. So they're just ignoring everybody and passing the buck. Strange. This whole topic is weird. If the men in black show up at my door, guys, for real. Like, you guys asked for this topic. It wasn't me. Revelations, the mysterious FCC document, classified numbers document in Washington FCC files. Ooh, come on. This startling revelation of the existence of a classified number station document was just recently, October 1986, confirmed by a high-ranking FCC official. While this FCC official would say little, we have learned that this numbers document holds a confidential classification category and is more specifically an interagency document. Unfortunately, interagency documents are exempt from the Freedom of Information Act. Here, however, is what we have learned. The FCC official says that the original classification authority was not the NSA, but a similar agency. This classification agency may or may not be the CIA. While this document might well be in the CIA files, we have no evidence to suggest CIA as the original classification authority. Other classification authorities could be FEMA, Defense Communication Agencies, or possibly IRAC. This FCC official will say very little about this mysterious document, except that it does exist. Wow. Why is this topic so taboo? I don't get it. I'm fascinated, though. We have since learned from other sources that this same interagency document very possibly exists at several other government agencies. Our sources, however, will not be more specific. The FCC official has made vague references to certain frequencies in the document. It appears at this time that this document contains a listing of many active 5-digit Spanish frequencies. Very curious for an agency that has claimed no interest in number matters. It would appear that interest has not been dispelled. Why such a document in the hands of the FCC? The man at the FCC would not say. Other sources tell us that the document is something on the order of a warning for the FCC not to snoop where they are not wanted. Better to go after pirate broadcasters instead. Huh. Well, they're admitting that it's not just college stations doing it. So it's an agency with power, obviously. Maybe I should stop looking at this. Everybody hates me already. Who cares? Okay. Other sources claim there is some concern at FCC about number stations that suddenly appear on FCC, FEMA, and NASA frequencies. Further confirmation of this aspect is being very actively pursued. This statement, however, must be viewed as part speculation. The big question, however, is just why the FCC would very calmly admit after all these years that a numbers or numbers related document exists. That's a question the FCC will have to answer. I have in recent weeks been informed that the FCC will have no further comment. And what about the date of classification? The man at the FCC does not remember. Now, if we could just ascertain the date, that could provide us with a somewhat better idea as to the original classification authority. Wow. Very obviously, someone besides the commission has some type of 5-digit Spanish number interest. I was also told by this source that it would be a cold day in Hades before the FCC would ever admit to the existence of this document. Why this sudden about face? The man at the FCC claimed that the most FCC personnel did not know of the existence of this document. That may well be true. Classified documents are only distributed to those with a need to know. An even bigger question, why will FEMA not respond to a certain FOIA petition that mentions number transmissions? Would anyone from FEMA care to respond? I would suggest that FEMA and certain other government agencies very carefully read certain portions of the executive order that created the FOIA. You must show cause as to why certain information will not be released. You, of course, do not have to release information. You are, however, required to respond. Wow. Oh, the interests of the United States and its citizens are best served by making information regarding the affairs of the government readily available to the public. This concept of an informed citizenry is reflected in the FOIA and in the current public information policies of the executive branch. Interesting. Meandering Moon. The VOA and numbers QSL. Okay, so in this one I'm not going to get into because, again, you have to know the frequencies and all that. Interesting. Nobody actually decodes anything? Why? Like, that's more of a mystery to me. Why is someone not writing things down and decoding them? Is that what he's doing here? Oh, the station. A source tells me this frequency was once used by Soviet spy trawlers. They're all high. Aren't they kind of high? Okay, so the rest of the book just goes on and on with frequencies, which I will actually look into at some time. Wow. Wow, so he just gets nothing. He got the runaround for decades, for a decade or two, into looking into this and researching it. While this was very obviously a book about numbers and related matters, I do on occasion, and when the mood strikes, write on other topics using another name, but that's another story for another time. Wow. Huh. So basically, he got the runaround for years. That's sad. All that research and all that time for nothing. Huh. Interesting. All right, guys. I really can't find anything else on this topic, and I have looked for a few days at nothing but websites trying to find more information. So I'm gonna go make sure my tent is safe outside. I might decide to do a reading, but I'm looking for something specific that I'd like to read to you guys, like a tent talk or whatever, just something real casual, like I always do. But anyways, have a great rest of your day. I hope it cooled off a bit wherever you are. You guys stay blessed, and we will talk soon, God willing. Bye, guys.